And I'm going to be doing that online class today that everybody's been talking about on Facebook. We are going to be doing my classic biscuits and gravy. So to start off today, what we're going to do is preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Now the recipe, which was on one of my previous posts, you'll see that I said take the frozen butter and take it with a cheese grater. Now one of the things that I like to do with the cheese grater is the reason why we do that is we want to get that butter to pea-sized pieces, much like this. So what we do is we grate that butter in there and we put it back into the refrigerator or freezer. I already did that step, so we're going to have that aside ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our flour, put that into our bowl. We have 2 cups of flour. Take our butter, put that in there, and we are going to add our seasonings. We have some salt, we have our sugar, and we have our baking powder and our baking soda. Now, earlier today somebody asked me, I only have self-rising flour in the house. Can I use that instead of the flour? You can use that instead, but one of the things is you want to cut back on the salt and cut back on the baking powder because self-rising flour has a concentrated amount of baking powder and salt in it already. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that flour with the butter, everything's in there, you're going to add your frozen butter to that, and we're going to mix that up. Use a whisk, make sure it's fully incorporated in there and the butter is dispersed evenly. Now at this point, what you could add in cheddar cheese, you could add in bacon, you could put in ham, scallions, anything. We're just going to do a plain, simple buttermilk biscuit today with this. So, now that we have that added in, what we're going to do is we're going to take our wooden spoon because we don't want that butter to start to melt yet. The reason why we use that frozen butter in there is because we want that butter to melt in the oven when it's cooking. And what's going to happen by that butter melting in there, it's going to make our biscuits fluffier and add little air pockets in there. Hey Brian, thanks for tuning in today, appreciate it. So now we're going to take our buttermilk after we made a well in the center of our flour. Just kind of give yourself a nice little spot, almost like as if you were making pasta. You would put a little well in the center and add your buttermilk to that mixture. You want to keep that cold, everything cold as possible. If you can, even put your flour, baking powder, salt, sugar, everything in the refrigerator just for maybe 20 minutes before you mix this up. Take our wooden spoon, because we really want to touch it with our hands as little as possible, and mix this just until it's incorporated. And we're getting there. Almost there. Shannon, hey, how you doing, bud? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Okay, so now your mix should look something like this. So it's kind of mealy, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this now, and you'll see why I have plastic on my table. Dump that out on the table. Excuse me there, Tucker. My beagle wants to play along today too. So now, gonna wash our hands. Get our hands ready to mix this up. Make sure you dry them really well because we're going to flour our hands to make this biscuit. Make sure you dry your hands really well because when we put flour on our hands to mix this in, you are going to have a mess. You're going to have Hulk hands is what we're going to have. A little bit of flour on our hands to mix this up. And we're just going to kind of press this together until it forms a dough. If you have to, this seems to be a little bit loose. What we'll do is we can add a little bit more buttermilk to it to hold it together. Sometimes, maybe a tablespoon, maybe a second tablespoon. And once again, we're going to fold that milk right into the dough. Starting to come together. Give it a good press. Get things together. Fold it on top of itself. Still looking a little light. So we're going to add a little bit more buttermilk in. And this is one of those things that's, you know, it's not really an exact science. It's one of those things where sometimes your batch will be loose and sometimes it won't. You just want to get it to the point to where it holds together. Knead it a few times more. Get all of that incorporated in there. A bit more flour. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to take our rolling pin, roll this out a little bit. What I do is I kind of like to get it into a round, like this. Take our rolling pin, go that way, and do a nice little X right on top of your biscuit dough. So then what we're going to do is we're going to roll this out into a rectangle, about 3/4 of an inch thick. That's what we're looking to do. Bring in your sides. And the reason why I do a rectangle is I'm not big into cutting my biscuits with a biscuit cutter. I usually just use a knife. This isn't a fancy dish here. Can be, but it's generally not. Who do we got? Eric and Zach. Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for joining in today. Okay, so we're looking good there. And you can cut it. It's not quite rectangle, but hey, who's really counting? It doesn't matter. So we'll take our knife, back of our knife. You want to flour it so it doesn't stick. And I use the back of my knife. Cut it right down the middle. And then we go into 8 pieces. Now, like I said, these biscuits are not going to be nice and sexy and round. These are home-style biscuits. These are the kind of biscuits that you cook just for your family. They're going to be really good, flaky, and delicious. Dry off my hands, get that flour off of there. Thank you, Chase. Okay, so now we have our baking pan. I like to use a Silpat just to make sure that nothing sticks. So what we'll do is we'll take that Silpat, put our biscuits on there. Come on, there it goes. You really only need to space these about 1 inch apart. They're not going to spread too much like a cookie would, but what they will do is they will rise up. So in my oven, I have it set at 450 degrees Fahrenheit on convection. And I know these will take, I know on the recipe it says 10 to 12 minutes. They'll take 11 minutes in my oven. So start at 10 minutes and then switch to, if it needs more, add a little bit more time to it. So while our biscuits are cooking, and tip, wood never goes in the dishwasher. Wash it by hand, that way the wood won't separate. Start cleaning this up. Now you'll notice that on my kitchen table here, I have a wood table, so I have nooks and crannies in my kitchen table, and I really don't like getting all the flour and stuff out of the nooks and crannies. So, one of the tricks that we use in the kitchen world is we cover everything with this wonderful stuff called plastic wrap. Hey Roxy, thanks for joining us. So we wrap the table in plastic wrap. I love to cook, I hate to clean. Now we're good to go. So, what we did now is we're going to start on our sausage gravy. So what I did is I took my pan, and you will do this on your stove. I'm going to do it on a burner so you guys can see, because I didn't think you'd enjoy seeing the back of my head while I cook. So what we're going to do now is I have my pan heating up. We are going to grab our sausage out of the refrigerator. And I think that's about it. Turn that off. Okay, so in the sausage gravy, we're going to be making this basic gravy. It's sausage. You could use bacon. You can use ham. You can make gravy out of anything. Hey Bridget, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today. You can use any kind of meat that you'd like to make this. It doesn't necessarily have to be sausage. Bacon gravy is fantastic, by the way. So what you're going to do before you get started, you're going to put your milk on a burner and warm it up. The reason why is we're going to thicken this with milk. You can use 2%, whole milk, half and half. However rich you want to make it. I generally use 2% or whole milk to do it. But what you want to do is you want to add that to it warm, because we're going to thicken this with a roux, which is equal parts fat and flour. So we're going to add our sausage to our pan, and you're going to want to break this up. Abigail, you want to taste this? Absolutely. As soon as we break those restrictions on 6 feet, you can come on over anytime and I'll make this for you anytime. People love this stuff. So we're going to get our sausage cooking here, and we want to make sure we cook that until there's no more pink left in it. Forgot to set my timer, roughly about a minute in. Okay. We'll have our milk here warmed up. Set that here. Yes, this will get a little smoky in here, but that's all right. I'm back here somewhere, trust me. Okay, so we're going to break up all that sausage, let that cook. What else do I need? What else do I need? Biscuits are working, we're good. Okay. So this is definitely a southern staple. It's one of those things when it comes to southern cooking, a lot of times what you're going to have is, it's kind of like what we're going through now. It's very simple cooking, very delicious cooking, and it's usually what they had on hand. Want to turn the fan on? Go ahead and turn the fan on, huh? Thanks. Getting smoked out a little bit in here. That's all right. Turn this down a little bit as well. Hopefully that'll take care of a little bit. You jump on the pan. You don't get to play anymore. Okay. We are almost there. So as I was saying, it's kind of like what we're going through now with everybody cooking and using what you have in your pantry or using what you have in your fridge to make things happen. You know, this is a dish that's really good, really flavorful, and really easy to do. You know, the biscuits, people get intimidated by baking all the time, and it's really not that hard. You saw it was, literally a handful of ingredients, and it was ready to go. So now you'll see, if you're making this at home, you'll see that it's starting to stick on the bottom of the pan. Don't worry about that. That's what's going to flavor all your gravy, and we call that the fond, F-O-N-D. And what's going to happen is when we add our milk to this, it's going to take all that flavor off the bottom of the pan and add it to our gravy. So now we're going to add our flour. My sausage is cooked through. There's no more pink. We're going to add our flour. And this is what is going to make our roux. We're also going to add our butter. And this roux is what is going to thicken our sausage gravy. Need a little coffee there, sorry. If you guys have any questions, feel free. I do have my executive producer manning the computer, Melissa, and I'll be able to answer any questions for you while I'm cooking this here. So, all right, so now what we want to do is we want to stir that flour and butter around. We're going to cook this for about a minute, minute and a half. Make sure all the flour is incorporated in with the fat or the butter and the sausage. And then we're going to add our seasonings and our milk. Okay, so now we're going to add our warmed milk. And the recipe, it says 3 to 4 cups of milk. We're going to start with about 3. And by adding it hot, it's already to a boil. Now, thickeners will not have the full thickening strength until it comes to a full boil. If we were to add cold milk into this, it would take for a long time for it to heat back up. Hey, Jill. Hey, Joe. How you doing? Thanks for joining in. Okay, so while we put that milk in there, we're going to scrape the bottom of the pan now and get all of that flavor off the bottom that we were just talking about. And we are boiling away really good here. Starting to get thick. You want to turn down your heat a little bit. And then we'll add a little more milk because this is a little thick. Add a little bit more milk to it and see how it goes. You know, to quote Emerald, like he said, this isn't rocket science, this is just cooking. You know, there's no right or wrong, really. It all depends on how you taste, on what your thoughts are taste-wise. So we're going to bring this back up to a boil, and we're going to add our seasonings now. So on the recipe, it says 2 teaspoons of black pepper. We add that in. We have our paprika, our chili powder, and cayenne in there. Going to add a little bit more black pepper. Can't hurt. I like a lot of black pepper in it. Add the spices as you see fit. If you don't want to use the chili powder or the cayenne, don't use it. Some people don't like things as spicy as I do. A little bit of salt. Get this out of the way. Got about 5 more minutes left on those. So we're going to mix in our spices. We're up to a boil again. Looks like this is going to take all of this gravy, or all this milk that I have here. We're going to heat this up and thicken that up. Alrighty. Bridget, what time's email? It'll be soon. When I was at Meadowbrook Country Club, I used to be in charge of email at night, and for the most part, had good comments on it. Everybody seemed to enjoy what I cooked, which is always a good thing, because when we do email, which is what we would call family meal in a restaurant, we like to, we cook from the heart. We like to use what we have on hand. We take things from the refrigerator, from the pantry, throw something together. Sometimes we have hits, sometimes we have misses, and a lot of times I would use the staff as a guinea pig to see if I wanted to put something on the menu. So our sausage gravy is looking good here. It's got a nice color, nice thickness. We're going to reduce this heat a little bit and let that simmer until our biscuits are ready. Hey Eric, how you doing? Hope things are good at Orchard Lake. You grab something to put this on, because if I wreck my table, my wife will kill me. All right, so what do we got? We got just a couple more minutes on those biscuits. A lot of times we will serve this with scrambled eggs, poached eggs, whatever you want to serve it with. There's really no rules here. It's kind of whatever you like. Keep in mind that a recipe is just kind of a starting point. It's like the blueprints. Whenever you're building something with blueprints, there's always changes. So you change it to however you like. You adjust it to your flavors, adjust it to your tastes and your seasonings that you like. And sometimes you just don't have other stuff on hand, so you do without and use something else. So the sausage gravy is looking good. As you can see, it's a nice consistency, thickened but not too thick and not too runny. You want to stir this because you don't want it to burn. Reduce your heat a little bit. Looks like I'm getting away here a little bit from me. While I'm waiting for the biscuits, now would be a good time to let you guys know, I appreciate you all supporting me and everything, but there's a lot of mom and pop restaurants out there right now that are really hurting. So maybe once this week or once next week, order some carry out. Help those restaurants out, because those restaurants that we love that serve this type of food like I'm doing really enjoy doing what they do for you. And they're all hurting right now, as we all are. So kind of support your mom and pop restaurants to make sure they're there tomorrow for you. This is the kind of stuff that they do, and we want to make sure that they stick around. So just my little PSA for the moment. Hey Gail, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Okay, gravy is looking good. So we're going to cook this for just a couple minutes more. And we're going to let that thicken and reduce a little bit and let those flavors concentrate. So, Tucker, you cleaning up after me? No matter what happens, whenever I'm cooking, this beagle will always be in the kitchen. He's always underneath my feet when I'm in the kitchen because he knows something's going to go flying at some point. All right. Hope everybody's having a good day today here in the Detroit metro area. It's nice and sunny. It's gorgeous out. Hopefully it stays that way today. Okay, so let's check on our biscuits. It says we got about 30 seconds left on that. Oh, those look great. They look great. Biscuits are done and out of the oven. So what we're going to do, we'll show you guys. Nice and golden brown. As you can see, they're not sticking to that Silpat. And these Silpats, you can get these on Amazon. Not that I'm plugging anybody by all means, but you can get them on Amazon. You get 5 of them for like $15. They're really inexpensive, and they're great. Nothing sticks to them. They're fantastic. Hey, biscuits are done. Okay, so we have our biscuits out of the oven. We have our sausage gravy. Now we're going to plate. Let's grab a cutting board here real quick. And my bread knife. So the biscuits, Brittany, when you're rolling them out, I would roll them out to about 3/4 of an inch. That's about where I had mine. And that's about how thick that they are when they come out of the oven. They don't rise too much, but they do rise some. It's a very loose, flaky, as you can see, delicious looking biscuit on there. So we take our biscuit, take a little bit of our sausage gravy, put it right on top of there. Top it with our other biscuit half, and there you go. That's my biscuits and gravy recipe. Thank you all for tuning in today. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Like I said, support your mom and pop restaurants. They're the ones that really need the help right now. Stay safe, be well, and keep cooking. Have a great day.